Thank you. لم يوقع لبنان على اتفاقية 1951 وبروتوكول 1967 فيما يتعلق باللاجئين، وذلك له علاقة بوضعية اللاجئين الفلسطينيين الخاصة المشمولين بالقرارين 189 و 194. في أي حال فإن لبنان وتحديدا في هذه المرحلة على تعاون وثيق مع المفوضية العليا لشؤون اللاجئين. فما هي أطر تحديد السمة القانونية للنازحين اللاجئين من سوريا؟ وما هي الموجبات اللبنانية والعربية بإزاء المعايير الدولية في هذا الإطار؟ وما هي مساحات التوازن بين الإنساني والسيادي؟ عن كل هذا تحدثنا الممثلة المفوضية العليا لشؤون اللاجئين نينت كيلي، ولها شكر جزيل على الجهود التي تبذلها وفريق عملها. سيدة نينات تفضلي.
Thank you very much. I thought maybe I'd go back just a year ago because one of the agenda items was to look at trends. And if we had sat here last year, and it goes back also to what Wao was talking about in terms of being prepared for difficulties. Last March, if we'd sat here, I would have told you we'd registered 9,000 Syrian refugees. In September, it was 80,000. Last December, it was 174,000. And today, we're up at 440,000. So it gives you, I like to give you that because it gives you a sense of what a shock to the system this wave of refugees has been, and how we've all had to really scramble in order to meet what is an evolving human tragedy of, in my life, unprecedented dimensions, what I see. Angelina is very right to say that you've got to focus on the individuals, because every single number there's an enormous so sad story to tell. If you were to talk to Anne Dinsmore, who's here from UNRWA, she will tell you as well, in addition to the 440,000, we have almost 50,000 Palestinian refugees who've had to come from Syria. And they come with, most of the refugees that are coming here, that are approaching our offices, and that's including UNRWA's, they're coming with nothing. They've really fled at the last minute. Many of them have already been displaced within Syria. They're running because their houses have been targeted, their family members have been killed. We have over 3,000 children that have crossed the border alone, without any parents or without any family members. We have children who have been so traumatized by what they've seen, like their father being killed or their brother being killed or their sister being raped, they can't even speak. Today I was talking to a woman, and this is a family that came only a few months ago. The young girl had been shot in the head, and she said she was fine, but she also didn't speak. And this was a family that felt fortunate because they were safe, and they were living in a hut in a banana field south of Beirut, and they were paying $150 a month for a hut that had no water or sanitation, and they felt fortunate, but they also felt desperate. So we've got people who come they need clothes, they need health care, they need food, they need shelter. We need to try to get children into school, and the needs are enormous, and they're spread throughout the country. And what I always say, and you know it, I mean, they haven't been herded into camps, they haven't been rejected at the border, they've been welcomed into Lebanese homes, they've been welcomed into Lebanese villages, but it's getting too much. And it's why we continue to say this crisis cannot be sustained on the present level of funding, and we need to bring as much support as possible to Lebanon, to Lebanese communities, to Lebanese schools, to Lebanese health centers, to Lebanese community projects, to water and sanitation in Lebanese villages, so that these communities that are undoubtedly sharing a disproportionate burden are able to cope better because the flow is not stopping. And we said that, we say that as loud as we can, and I think we have had, especially through the European Union, for example, or we have representatives here from other donor countries that are now looking at trying to move more development assistance, more aid to Lebanese communities. But in order for us to be attractive to aid, we also have to be organized. And we also have to present a very solid picture between the humanitarian needs and the government response. And Wael has given you a very interesting historical perspective of how the government has come to organize or not organize around this crisis. If we look at the legal obligations, it's undoubtedly the legal obligation of a state to control its population, to protect people who are within its territories. This is a country that has in its constitution adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which guarantees the right of asylum, the right of people to request asylum. Where the country falters is there is no legal or administrative mechanism to manage refugee affairs. And there is this kind of, it's a bit hard to understand for a foreigner, I must tell you, when you suggest that the country have a mechanism, as other countries all around the world do, for managing refugee affairs, and you're told, even today we are told, we're not a refugee country. So Lebanon is not a refugee country, yet it has 280,000 registered, confirmed Palestinian refugees, old refugees, 50,000 Palestinian refugees from Syria, 440,000 and growing Syrian refugees, 10,000 refugees from other countries. So, but it can't be right to say, we're not a refugee country. Yes, you may not be a country that can have refugees here forever. You're not a country of permanent refuge for refugees, understandably so. But it seems counterintuitive to say we're not a refugee country when, proportion to your size, I can't think of another country in the entire world that has more refugees than Lebanon. And I would urge you as thinkers and doers and policymakers to think on that, and to think how this country can position itself so that it can manage these kinds of influxes and these kind of dilemmas in a way that is much less ad hoc, much more organized, and would attract much more international support than is currently coming in. That's sort of the more pessimistic view. I like to think I'm a person, in English we say, where your glass is half full, not half empty. I don't know if you have the same in Lebanese. But I would say that UNHCR has been in Lebanon for 60 years. And the cooperation and the collaboration we have with the government of Lebanon is unprecedented today. Notwithstanding there is no firm structure, notwithstanding that many people want to say we don't have any problems here that we want to deal with in a structured manner. But the kind of support that we've received through the Minister of Social Affairs, he's now the coordinator of the interministerial response, and his team have brought great dedication, great direction, great commitment to trying to stand up to what is an almost at times insurmountable challenge in the face of great political intransigence and difficulty. And that's incredible. Somebody should write that story. I'll also say we have Pierre Salem from the Ministry of Interior, who's been a very steady partner and a growing partner. So now the security cell that he has established in Beirut is replicated throughout this country with all the different law enforcement agencies, with the Minister of Social Affairs, with our own offices in the different regions to try to manage a coordinated response. So there's something really positive to say about this. But I think we need a great leap forward. I think we need to build on this and move a lot faster, because our worry is that the numbers will continue to increase. The support to Lebanese communities can only be secured with a really solid approach and solid stand and great attention from our donors. And we could be in for much worse. And if something happens in Damascus that causes massive outflows of people, I'm telling you, they're going to come to Lebanon. And the UN and our international partners, we have plans, we've got plans, we know what we will do, but they're half-baked if we don't have a serious government response that joins with us on that and thinks ahead, not when it happens, but starts to plan for that now. Thank you.